Well, I guess it's about time we got back on this thing. I've been gone for several weeks. You're probably giving up on me. Hopefully not. Anyway, we only have to do this one arm here, and we will have pretty well polished old Monte off. Just to go over a few things here, uh, since I can't really remember where we stopped last time. I think we were doing this arm here. Anyway, I still haven't done the back area back here because I'm waiting to get this arm on. I've put him a little strip of bullets back here, just indicated them there. You can see. I did a little more detailing on his jeans, gave him some wrinkles and indicated a couple pockets. That'll come out a little bit more once it's burnt. And I think that's about it. You can see I burnt detail on the gun just to let it show up some more. I had a question about the chaps right here, how they hang over the boots. In a lot of photos you'll see of cowboys, you'll see that their chaps actually come up above the boots, say about right here, for batwing chaps. But then again, you'll see lots of photos where the chaps hang clear down to the ground. Well, I like it down here because it sort of anchors the figure to the base. Everything comes down and just flows out right here, just flows right out. I think that looks good. And it gives you the opportunity to do a little bit more wrinkles and details. It just looks better to me. Might not to you, but you know, it's your cowboy. You carve yours the way you want, and I'll carve mine the way I like. So I like to do it this way. And it's quite easy to do when you're carving. I've already carved these, so I'm not going to actually carve on them. Is just draw you a line over the top of your shoe. And like I say, you know, the best place to start when you're doing a carving is at the base of where the figure stands, because that's what anchors him to the ground. That's the most important thing. If you carve an upper body real nice and then screw up where he's standing on the ground, it's just not going to look very good. So I always start right down here at the very bottom of the boot by drawing the outline of the base of or the bottom of the shoe and then going from there. And being as the wood grain runs straight up and down, and this area loops back from the front, when you take a chip off down here, they always peel away real nicely, even if you use a gouge of some kind. You don't have to worry about the wood splitting so much. So doing this kind of detail down there on the bottom is not that hard to do. Anyway, doing this arm over here. Now, like I said earlier, we're going to have him smoking a cigarette. Now, I've drawn out the blank here, and I'll put this on my, in the gallery area of mine. And this is a very rough outline. I've left myself all kinds of wood to carve away. That's important, because I don't really know where this is going. I haven't carved a hand holding a cigarette. So there's a possibility you might never see this video if this doesn't work out right. But if it works out okay, well, then you'll probably see this video. So what we're after here is we want a relaxed hand holding a cigarette. Like I say, Monte, I've already carved some on here. Monte's standing there, he's going to have a rope in his hand, and he's holding a cigarette in this hand over here. Now, I don't know if any of you smoke, some of you probably have, but when you smoke, find my fake cigarette here, you hold your cigarette in your hand here, and it's sort of just a relaxed hand, okay? So that's what I've drawn here. Just a rough outline of a relaxed hand. These fingers come straight out. If there's enough wood there, we'll get this V shape when we carve it. Now, when you're doing your hand, what you don't want, and what I'm going to try to stay away from, is the Cub Scout salute. And a Cub Scout salute, by saying that, I mean a Cub Scout salute is those fingers straight up and down, just like that. That's not natural. If you hold your hand in that position, you'll notice that you feel tension on the back of the hand here because it's not relaxed. But if you relax it just a little bit, then it becomes relaxed and that tension goes away. So that's the pose we want. Not real curved like this, because that just don't look right. It's about like that right there. And I've left myself, let me take this off here. I've left myself enough wood here just to show you how thick this is. Let me measure the area that I haven't cut. That is about 1 1/8". Could be even more than that, say 1 1/4 thick that I cut this blank from. And then another thing, as you can see, I've done some whittling on this. I've not done too much because I want to whittle this hand before I whittle too much on this thing here. Because, like I say, if I goof up this hand, there's no sense doing anything else with this thing. If you look here, I've kind of shaved off the hand at an angle. See how it sloped on there and sloped up this way? That's because I want that hand twisted, not straight. I want it like, let me see, stand up here. I don't want it like this. That's not natural. I want it like this. That's natural. Okay? Not this. Definitely not that. This. This is what we're after right there. Just a natural pose, like I'm getting ready to take a drag on that cigarette. All right? Hopefully, if things work out, we'll get pretty close to that. Okay. Disregarding what I said before, one thing I do want to do is you can see here, remember how we did this arm over here? Okay, I went ahead and I sanded this surface perfectly smooth and this surface perfectly smooth on my little disc sander because I want these two pieces to fit exactly together. I went and drilled a hole in my arm up here at the shoulder where it's going to hit that body, right in the middle. I want it right in the middle if I can get it. And then I used a little pencil lead there to make the corresponding mark on this part of the body here. And I went and I matched it up there like that. I found the perfect position of what I wanted to get. And then once I did that, I went and I made me a mark on top of there. See that mark there? To where it corresponds with the line on the other side. So you can still see the line that I drew over here. So we got that. And then I took my pencil and I went around the arm like that to indicate where the arm hit the body. And what I want to do before I start on this hand is I want to carve off this big chunk of wood that's up here on top and maybe a little bit back here. So when I put the arm, when I'm doing the hand and I put the arm back on here, I can see how it's going to look a little better. See, right now I've got this monstrous piece of wood up here and I can't really visualize how that arm's going to look. So I want to get rid of a lot of that right there before I go on and start on this thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You don't need to see me do that because I'm just taking off a bunch of old wood, and we all should know how to do that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back to doing the hand. Okay, as you can see, I've taken off quite a bit of wood on his arm there, and see how much better it looks now? Now you can actually see the shape of that shoulder area a little bit better than we could before. There's still a lot of wood up there that needs to come off, but this will at least help us visualize it. Now, one thing you'll probably notice is this wood here is a lot darker than this wood here. Now, they're both basswood. The difference is this this part comes from Minnesota, and this part comes from northeastern Arkansas, or northwestern Arkansas, excuse me, or northeastern Oklahoma. The basswood trees around here are dark because of the growing season. And also this basswood is a lot harder than this basswood here. And that's the reason, one of the reasons, that I chose to use some Arkansas basswood to make his arm, because I want as much strength in this piece as possible. So using a little harder wood will give me a little bit more of an edge than using the softer stuff. But the softer stuff would have worked okay. I might have to make a little adjustment when I paint it, but I'm not worried about that. I'll be able to take care of that. And another thing that I forgot to mention that I'll do right now is how we oriented the grain. The grain on this figure runs like that. Okay? Now you're probably saying to yourself, well, why didn't I run the grain like that? Straight down those fingers. Well, I'll tell you why. Because if I did that, instead of doing that, when I took off a chip, and I'll show you here, it wouldn't do that. By orienting your grain at a slight angle allows you to take a chip and know which way that chip's going to come off. Now on this side, I know that I can't take a chip off this way. I have to turn it around and take a chip off this way. See how it curls off of there? One of the most important things you need to learn when you're wood carving is how your knife blade and your cutting strokes interact with the grain of the wood. Now, had I run this straight up and down, that wood would split off of there, and I definitely don't want that. Because I don't have, I've lost control, and Judy says I'm a control freak, so gotta have that control. So anyway, I offset my grain there to where I can control this area out here a little bit better. It's going to weaken it just a little bit, not very much, but it will weaken it just a little bit. But still yet, what you give up in one area, you make up in another area, okay? You definitely don't want to run your grain up and down with this part of the arm to give you a cross grain out here on these fingers. That would be a real no-no. All right? So anyway, now we're going to carve this hand. And like the other hand, remember when we discussed the planes of the hand, how they're different planes, the back, the front knuckle, or the back knuckles, the mid knuckles and the front knuckles, the back part of the thumb, the mid thumb and the front of the thumb, how they're all just flat planes. If you remember that, it makes the job a lot easier. And that even comes into effect when we're doing a different pose of the hand like this one here. We've got our fingers, and we'll just use our hand as the example. This is what I'm after, about like that there. If we take, it's kind of hard to do, draw the hand that I'm copying. I want my thumb to come down and lay on the top of those fingers. And then I'll work on these later. But right now, what I want to do is I would just want to roughly block out this hand. And while I'm doing that, I want to also remember that we want to make it the same size as this one over here. But we definitely don't want to have two hands that are different size. That won't look right. So I'm going to do that. I don't think I need to show you how to do that. I'll come back in here once I briefly get it roughed out. But I don't want to have to show you everything, or this video is going to last all day. So let me just start quickly roughing that out. It won't take much to give us an idea of where we're going. There, see that hand? See how it's coming together real quick there? And we're just indicating the planes of this hand. All right. Now, what I want is I want to look at it from the top to see how that looks. So I'm going to come over here and just kind of curl that around like that. All right. Let's just look at it from the back here. Might take a couple videos to do this hand because we're doing something a little different here. And like I say, I haven't done this before, so I'm as new as you are in this thing. If this is how you do it, it just takes time. And a little patience. Actually, a lot of patience. And remembering a few rules. I think for this video anyway, we'll just concentrate on getting it blocked out. Did you see what I just did there? I started to carve down like that, and immediately, by knowing the grain of this thing, I immediately stopped, because I knew if I carved down any farther, that's going to split off. So I stopped and carved up this way. And right there, I'm getting into a grain situation. How bad. And there. See how my knife wants to follow the grain there? It wants to cut up into there. Well, I don't want to do that, so I got to stop, turn it around, and go the opposite direction. Let me get my saw marks off of here, or pencil marks rather, so we can see where we're going here. I've got a hole right down in here. Can't really see what I'm doing there. I'm taking out the notch. Yeah, trying to get that area right there just indicated. It's kind of hard to do. I'm trying to show you and whittle at the same time. It's not that easy to do. There we go. Got that thing out of there. See how these chips just fall off of there? Now, had I run that grain straight with those fingers, I would have no idea what would happen here. But now I know how those chips are going to come off. And here's that thumb muscle. That's important. That's a real important indication of a hand right there. See there? Now watch. Let me show you. Carve that off of there. Just like people, you know, your appendages, your face has characteristics which identify you. That little muscle right there, see how the hand looks okay. I mean, you can see that it's a hand, but that muscle there is what really makes it look like a hand. When I draw that in there like that, and then just put a indication of it there. See there? Look how much more that looks like a hand. Let me carve that down so that muscle stands out even more. See there? Neat. Couldn't figure out what that beeping was. Well, that was telling us my card was full. So anyway, I just went ahead and indicated that front joint of the thumb just to make it show up a little better. And then I have to stop here. So there, we now have our hand pretty well blocked out, okay? So let's just put it on Monte here and see how it looks. Line it up with my line. Monte just shook his head and said, yeah, looks good. Time for a smoke. So that's looking pretty good, I think. And I think also we're gonna have it just about the same size of this hand down here when we're finished. So let's just turn him around there and see how that's looking. That's looking good. I like that. Ooh. I really like some of the angles when you see this, how this is gonna look once it's done. And I think it's gonna look pretty spiffy. So we'll just stop right here and I'll get this thing on the blog and then we'll come back later and finish that thing, I hope.